saying that the upper and lower realms are projection, is it right in saying that there is a version of us on the other side of the dome, or an aspect of us existing on the other side?
Absolutely. There's the higher dimensional version of you that, and you put, say, your hands up against a mirror or water, you can see the reflection. Through the way that you properly scry and talk to the other version of you is through water. Notre Dame has taught me that from the very beginning. When you place your hands on the water or you become the mirror through the water, you don't want to use a mirror really because that's 3D. That's physical, so you want to use something that is organic, reflective, which would be the water. But he showed me that he had this bowl, so that's what he had. Nostradamus had, like, the sacred bowl is made out of gold. Then there's this sacred waters that he had, and then these sacred waters of Babylon, he would scry through them, and that's how he was able to see timelines and predictions. Back to the other version of you, that's your other version that's high dimensional if you view through the water. They show us that the dome is actually made out of the most thinnest, clearest crystals. That's why we need to become crystalline to ascend out. So we ascend out through our portal of our heart, or another form is ascending out outer layer of Mother Earth, which is this shield. So in order to go through this shield, you do have to be crystalline. And that's where Ascension comes forth, and why you need to start activating your 12, 13 DNA strands, crystallizing them so that when you come forth, you're matching vibration to this crystalline force field. And at that point, then you lose the physical, and then you become and completely transition into crystalline, back to original plasmic energetic bodies. Through this dome crystal, which we could qualify it like a crystal mirror, it is showing me both the inside direct layer, but then it's a little confusing because it's directly also outside, but it's like a mirror. It's like you're mirroring the 3D here on this side of the crystalline dome, and then here, then there's the other version of itself, but in the 5th dimension or higher. They showed me like rings that are coming out from the dome. You know, when you play a drum, dun, 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 dun. Interesting enough, usually tap the drum from the inside, right? And then the sound echoes. The way that this drum is playing in reverse, the way that the sounds echoing out of circles, like, you know, when you touch water and how it echoes out, it's going backwards. Instead, there are rings of energy and light coming in from the outside of this dome to the 5th dimension and beyond. So the way it begins is not a tapping like a drum from the inside and echoes out. Instead, it comes in like this and it ripples into the North Pole. So the ripples of circles and waves of light that come in, and they ripple in just like circles, infinite circles. And then spirals in, and then an aurora borealis energy comes out from the crystalline energies inside our earth. So what we're watching through aurora borealis is that literal magic and the aura to the love light of Mother Earth. These negative polarized entities, if they try to get past even more, they're going to return back to source. So they don't want to do that. They don't even understand this world. They're like, what is this? They don't understand these tall towers, these statues, these crystals. I do see gigantic crystals, and I'm not going to say what kind of crystals they are, but they're grading the whole outer wall that is making the dome. But they can't get to it because it's like you're pushing through. Like if you were pushing through fire, you can say, let's use that as an example. Fire, you're pushing through fire. And if you are not in matching vibration to source fire, source flame, what will happen to you? The skin will start burning, right? You start losing skin, flesh, organs, as you start dematerializing into bone. That's what happens to them if they try to get closer to the dome. And these fields, they're so benevolent and divinely powerful that they just can't reach them.
So when traveling through those walls, what happens if I don't shield?
If you astral travel, period, they're going to see you. You get infringements, you get implants, they can find you now. And now they can mess with your life. They can try to attack you energetically, psychically, gang up on you because they just figured you out and they found you. So that's astral travel, period, without shielding. You're basically very bright, and the way entities view is in a black and white spectrum. They can only see glowing lights, which is you if you're not shielded. So it's like that moth to the fire. If you are not shielded with love light, you're not going to be able to get through the walls. You're going to start transmuting. So I just be cautious energetically and spiritually with your soul doing that. But why not shield yourself? It's just source of light. Like, then you're being like those entities. See, we've been trained and programmed to treat our souls like they're not worthy to protect, to love, and it's time for us to release this negative programming.
In regards to the Earth's form, what was the purpose of changing the shape? Was it changed from spherical because they were destroying it, or did they want the planet to be flattened for a particular purpose?
It couldn't sustain the fifth dimensional spheric energy anymore because as it descended, it turned physical. So the way that we can physically manifest this into a blueprint was that it needed to go two-dimensional, so more of a flat surface instead of a third-dimensional sphere. So now I'm not talking about dimensions, I'm just talking about shapes right now. Mayan Atlantean series, if you haven't watched that, watch it. It's a lot for us to have gone from the fifth dimension into the third dimension. But the truth is that a lot of plane of existence are just flat surfaces, and they just go on and on and on and infinite. You're going to really understand that once we step out of the dome. So there are layers and layers on top of each other. In order to construct something, life itself, you need to begin from a two-dimensional plane, like a flat surface. And then from there you build it and it becomes spheric right before you leave the dome. So it is water, but it's not, because you can still walk it, but you're light floating, it's losing gravity. The density has shifted basically, which makes sense scientifically through the quantum physics. You can't just come out of this wall and then go straight out into the fifth dimension. You need to go through a gradual transforming of your essence. So these beings are benevolent, and this is why, because they can sustain this frequency of no ego, no ill intent, and they're holding the space like a grid to the crystalline forcing. So telepathically, telekinesis needed galactic beings that needed to hold and come in, that were true pure love light. And it's not also limited to the human race talked about. There's also other races. I do see like cat beings, canine beings that are all around this, and what they're doing is that they're holding the space and they're not letting it go. They will hold it infinitely, as they've been doing ever since the fall of Atlantis. Veluvia, light language, Lemurian language, for I love you, that I do. I love you with all that I am. In case you've never heard that. Something I'm known for is that I see you for who you are. I always see you for who you are. No matter what layers of darkness you may have around you, I can see you. That I will. I can see your soul. Thank you. You're going to hear many different things throughout, different people that you might listen to. They're going to make it seem like victimizing, make you feel helpless, like you're stuck. A lot of the flat earther people think that they're stuck and they can't get out, but it's not accurate. You all know through our 6 years of communications, we've been talking about all these different perspectives, multitude of multidimensional ways. Okay, so no more victimizing. If you were in that victimizing, if you form, then it's time for you to pull yourself out of that. You are not powerless. You are actually very powerful. So I'm going to be communicating to you back and forth in the Theta brainwave. It's actually very simple. It's a lot of dogma, a lot of programming created upon the fact that you can't go into a Theta brainwave, which is meant to be hypnosis, but really honestly, we all do it all day long. When we're watching TV, when we're driving, you reach your destination, 30 minutes later, you're like, I don't know how I got here, but I'm here. That's a Theta brainwave. When you're in the in-between and you're getting knowledge and wisdom, sacred downloads from your higher self. So I'll be closing my eyes and opening them up. I am surrounded by source of light, so only love light may communicate. And because this is strong content, a lot of people don't get this, don't get how we're in an inverted matrix, and they are in denial, and they will most likely, if they're in denial, they will stay in denial, unfortunately, till ascension comes, and they won't be able to reach a high enough level of consciousness and awareness and awaken themselves enough to be able to send out, because they haven't released the negativity, the shadows, the darkness, the entities in them. It's time to deprogram ourselves from the programming of the third eye. Under TikTok, she wrote, I was told that the third eye is evil, and so many people still have that belief today. How could the glands and your abilities and your senses be evil? That is what's found in the third eye. Your hearing, your knowing, your clairvoyance, clairaudience, your touch, your smell, your seeing through your third eye. All these are located in there. So it's time for you to release any programming up that your third eye is evil. Because then what you do is you put black magic on your own self. You're bridging in negativity into your own third eye. Let's continue on. Let's keep moving fast. but in surrender and in flow. Let's keep riding those waves that come into Earth, and let's deprogram any false illusions. If you believe that, you put a layer, a filter over your third eye, and there's nothing evil about that. It's just your natural abilities as the beautiful spiritual being that you are. It's warpy. If you try to get past, like, it ages them if they're negative polarized. They start literally becoming wrinkly. It's a bit like those movies that you guys might have watched, sci-fi and scary horror movies. Weird stuff's happening. Weird stuff for them because they're not a matching vibration to love light. So their soul can't, and their physical form can't sustain it. But if it was a benevolent being positively going through these walls, and they were truly benevolent and they were clear, they didn't have any entities attached, implants, because in order to be a matching vibration to this infinite source of light, you can't have any attachments like this. Then you would be able to flow through it like water. And at that point, what I see that once we get past the Arctic wall, it does become plasmic water, but it's not like underwater. Like here on Earth, it's different. It's like this lightness to it, and that's where all those benevolent beings that I'm talking about, the different races as well as the Sasquatch, are at. They're in this creational water